Hello again, my friends. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be reading episode 4 from my book, Life After Depression. If you've missed episodes 1, 2, and 3, go back and listen to them, and you'll enjoy episode 4 that much more. After my stay in hospital, I went from one form of medication to another. I spent hours having stuff pumped into my veins. I embarked on exercise programs to take the depression away. I read all the self-help books on the shelf. I became deeply religious, attending every church meeting, prayer group, and Bible study on offer. I had my hormones checked. I had them rechecked. I changed my eating habits. I consumed too much alcohol. I stopped drinking alcohol altogether. I got a new house. I lost weight. I had plastic surgery. Nothing helped. This big black cloud was always waiting just over the horizon, ready to strip me of any joy I was experiencing. What was I going to do? My husband was quite enduring at first, but he was fast losing patience. After all, he had never experienced depression, so how could I expect him to understand that when I started crying about something he might have done or not done and totally overreacted, it was because I was out of control of my emotions. Even I never really understood why I was crying or what was happening to me. I just wish I could have really explained to him what I was going through instead of feeling like such a loser. People who don't understand depression battle with the concept of it. I know that. At that time, some friends felt it was really time for me to snap out of it. Just don't think about it, they'd say. Keep yourself busy. Keep your mind occupied with other things. Easier said than done. When one is suffering from depression, it is all-consuming. No matter where you are, it is always there with you, reminding you that you're not normal like everyone else, that you need medication just to get through the day, let alone a social event. Did they really think I liked sneaking off to the bathroom at parties just because I couldn't keep the tears back one moment longer? I always had a reason why I didn't feel happy. This is where the blame sets in. Either my husband didn't treat me right, or at least as I thought he should have treated me. My job was too demanding, my children's needs were too great, my aged parents put too much pressure on me. I didn't have enough money, my health was not good. And of course this led to sympathy from others. It took me many years to discover people talk to me differently to how they talk to other people. There was always something they needed to feel sorry for me about. The "How are you, Rose?" was said with such sympathy because they automatically knew how burdened I was. I subconsciously basked in everyone's sympathy and one was unaware of this for many years. It took me a long time and some serious practice on my part to break the cycle. I'm very grateful to my psychologist for having the courage to point this out to me and for helping me to overcome it. Still today I have to remind myself that I can get as much attention sharing a joyful, happy story as I can telling a really sad one and having everyone in tears. Positive attention leaves a much nicer feeling than negative attention, but it does take practice. It was at this time in my life I started seeing a psychologist and a psychiatrist regularly, which was long overdue. I must have had hundreds of consultations. I lost count. If anyone ever tells you psychologists and psychiatrists don't help them, tell them they don't know what they're talking about. If you don't receive help with your depression from these doctors who specialize in this condition, it's because you haven't yet found the right one. Perhaps look for another one. I received some of the best help with my depression I could have ever wished for from my psychologist, and the correct medication was given to me by my psychiatrist. My psychologist gently got me talking about my life. For the first time, I talked about issues that I'd been too embarrassed to talk about before. I talked, and during this talking, I realized I had become very afraid of life. Outwardly, I appeared to be in control of my world, but inwardly, I was fearful of everything. I had even begun to rehearse whole sentences in my head before saying them out loud, just to be sure that I would not be saying something that would cause a confrontation. When my husband and I went out, I would ask him to stay at my side. Please don't leave me alone, I'd say. I felt afraid to be alone, even in company. In fact, mostly in company. I would practice what I would say if someone came and stood next to me or sat down next to me. I was becoming more and more afraid. This fear had made me scared of other things completely unrelated to my depression as well. As an example, I was terrified of heights and would become quite hysterical if someone even stood too close to the edge of a ledge or a balcony. I'd wake up in a sweat some nights imagining my children falling or being thrown from great heights and me not being able to save them. I was terrified of doing anything adventurous like rock climbing or going on a fairground ride. My fear of life had just found somewhere to manifest itself. I remember one day when a group of us were at a seaside resort and everyone climbed down a rock ledge to the beach below. I didn't want to be left out, so I followed suit, only to freeze halfway down. I couldn't go forward, I couldn't go backward. I stood there absolutely terrified. My sweet and caring brother-in-law scrambled back up the rocks and at a snail's pace walked me off the ledge, talking quietly to me all the way. But all that has changed. Today I enjoy climbing to the top of high rocks just to get a better view. And at the age of 45, I went on my first roller coaster ride. What excellent fun I'd been missing out on. My psychologist explained to me that as I conquered my fears about life, without even realizing it, I was overcoming other fears at the same time. It's hard for even me to believe that after being afraid to talk to people that I knew in company, I'm now able to speak publicly. What a liberation that was. Perhaps you, the reader, have some untapped talents that you don't even know about. Talents you haven't given yourself the chance to explore yet. Talents your condition is preventing you from pursuing. Perhaps there are activities that you don't take part in either. Don't despair. You will. You will enjoy life again and do all those things you stopped doing, and even some you've never even thought of before. I call the next portion of this book Acceptance. It takes a lot of courage to say out loud, I suffer from depression. And until you're able to do this, you will not start the healing process. The denial stage is a natural part of your healing process, but please recognize it for what it is, part of the process, and it will pass. With your acceptance of your condition comes the acceptance that you will always have to take medication. For those who have not suffered from an illness or condition that demands that they take daily medication for the rest of their lives, they will wonder why this is such a hurdle to overcome. For some reason, us humans feel that if we are reliant on a drug, we're not doing the job properly ourselves, that we're somehow failing ourselves. You will have to accept that the reason you are reliant on a drug is because something is missing from your chemical makeup and needs to be replaced artificially. Why is it nobler to admit that you are diabetic and even go so far as to administer your insulin in a public place? Why are women able to discuss their underactive thyroid in public and even compare medications? The reason is because, as evolved as we like to think we are, depression still carries the stigma attached to it that suggests the sufferer is actually a bit mad, screwy, bonkers. The list of words goes on and on. No one will admit to thinking that, but it's true. So the sooner you realize that and stop taking offense at other people's ignorance of your condition, the sooner you will start to concentrate on yourself and your recovery, which, amongst other things, involves taking your medication like clockwork, having regular visits with your psychologist and psychiatrist, and keeping positive, caring company. Yes, those you love the most will let you down. The friendships that you treasured the most will prove to be built on sand. But always know that it's because so many do not understand depression. These people who seem to be ignoring you actually don't know how to handle you. They don't know what to say to you. They feel inadequate in dealing with you. Yes, and some may feel you've just become too hard work to be with. You'll have to deal with all of that, but know that as much as you are doing the best you can in this awful situation, so are those around you, even though it might not look that way at the time. I suppose one of the reasons depression is misunderstood and seen as wallowing and self-pity is because so often the term is used too loosely. I've witnessed people saying glibly, I feel so depressed today. I could literally slit my wrists. Or my personal favorite, I used to suffer from depression, but I just made up my mind to snap out of it. The truth is, dear friends, they have absolutely no idea what real depression feels like. A truly depressed person mostly doesn't tell anyone they're depressed at the time. They keep it to themselves, feeling as if they're the only person alive in the whole world that is suffering this way. Well, that's the end of episode 4, and I hope you enjoyed it. And see you next time. Bye for now.